Alright, today I'm going to do a video going over the gears and basic inspection of this Eaton Fuller 10-speed transmission. We're going to start off over here on top. This would be the piece that comes through your floor. The shift tower, you can shift your gears. Just take it off, flip it over. In here would be some springs and detent balls. These help hold the gear from popping out of place. This is your shift rail housing here. This is a 3-rail system. You can see them here. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, here we are. I opened up the shift housing. What you see here, these are the 3 forks that actually move the clutch sleeves around in here and engage different gears. These are the inside, the bottom side of the 3 shift rails. Okay, here you have your input shaft. This is the engine would put power to your clutch and whatnot, and it'll line up here the hub, and with these splines it'll push power into the transmission here. This is the main shaft, internal main shaft right here for your transmission. Now the input shaft and the main shaft are actually 2 separate pieces. They're not one, and they spin freely of each other. Then here you have one counter shaft, and then you have an identical one exactly down here. And the gears are exactly the same. They mirror on each side, and what this does, it splits the power from the input. It splits it down each side, it divides it in half, and it combines it back in the end and brings it back up to 1. Now here you have your clutch sleeves. You have 3. This is a 10-speed. It's the second one. It's the third one. This is your reverse idler gear. If you were to, your clutch fork would slide back, would engage this gear. That would be, see there, it slide back, and now it's your transmission would be in reverse. So to put it in the first gear, you just push it forward. There, it's in. So that's first gear. And what that does, that engages this gear to have power. And it turns this one on the counter shaft. And it also turns that gear down there on the counter shaft. So to disengage, it just pulls back. Make sure it's not engaging either side. Transmission's in neutral. And you go and put it in second. And you got this clutch sleeve, and you're gonna want to slide it back into this gear. Oh, that gear right there, yeah. And that puts it into second. What that does, it puts this gear and the mirror one on the other counter shaft down here, and that's where the power goes. So then to put it in third, just push this clutch sleeve forward, and that's third gear. And now the power is going through this counter shaft gear and the mirrored one down in the back. Put down back in the middle, it's neutral, it's not engaged on either side. This would be fourth gear here. Push this clutch sleeve back in the fourth. And put it in fifth, you just slide it forward. And it engages the gears to the counter shaft on this side and into the mirrored one down there. Slide it back. Now when you want to go to high gears, back here is a pneumatic actuated changer. That fork that you see on the right hand side sits in that little sleeve. Right now it's locked into the high position, but in the low position, when you're going through gears 1 through 5, it'll be pushed towards the front of the transmission. But right now it's in high, which is okay. So the gears work pretty much, the gears work the same. This is still reverse, but now if you push this first clutch sleeve forward, push it forward. Yeah, come on, synchros. There you go. You push it forward, and now that becomes 6th gear. So that's 6. You pull it back. It's neutral. Same thing. You just go down the line here. That'd be 7 instead of 2nd. You push it forward. That'd be 8. This one would be 9. Push it up, that'd be 10. Another thing that you want to look at when you're in here, you could look like on all of these clutch sleeves, there's like a beveled edge on these teeth, if you see it here, on both sides, and all of them have it. You know, you want to see if this edge, this leading edge here, is polished, and what these are the synchronizers, and what these do, since they're beveled like that, and each of these gears here, it's also beveled under their teeth, and they are also beveled. And what it does, it helps them synchronize up. I guess hence the name synchronizers. But what will happen is they'll, if they're like extremely polished, the friction goes down and they want to slip out, and it'll make it jump out of gear sometimes. Oh yeah, these are PTO gears. If you notice, they're not connected to the main shaft. What they do, they just spin freely. They you know, just use the power that's going through the counter shafts at all times. And what those are used for, you can hook up power takeoffs, like a hydraulic pump. You can use it to power things like if you have like a cherry picker on your truck. If you're on a car hauler, you can use it to actuate all the hydraulics on that, lift all the ramps and stuff. This part I forgot to mention, where the high-low splitter's at, is called the auxiliary box back here. And this little line that you can see here, this is just an oil line, a transmission fluid line. And then in the back here, this is the yoke, the output shaft, where you would slap a U-joint in here and connect it to your drive line. And I think that's it. Okay, now right here in the auxiliary box, you can tell you have this bigger gear in the front, and you have a smaller gear on the back side there. And what those do, if you switch to high and low range, obviously if you have a bigger gear spinning a smaller gear, you're gonna get speed out of the transmission. And if you have a smaller gear over there trying to turn this bigger gear, then you're gonna gain torque. So when you're in the low range, you're gonna want that little gear spinning this bigger gear to maximize the amount of torque output. And then once you put it in high, then you're gonna want that bigger gear turned into smaller gear, and that's where you get your speed. And